2025, which is about 6 years previously, 3 of them. So this region cannot take one of those hurricanes every 2 years. As the people in the Caribbean, our CARICOM nations, our neighbors in the region, small islands, the cost of those hurricanes far exceeds our national budget. How are we supposed to live as a people when our national budget is actually being written off within a day? How are we supposed to live? So now, and then, the thing about it is that as soon as you begin to rebound, get back, another one comes. Abaco, clear signs of Dorian still exists in Abaco. That was 2019. That was now 6-7 years ago. And so, as a people, we really need to. It's called. They say we can do very little mitigation for them when they reach. We can build our homes better, and maybe the impact will not be as serious. But really, are we supposed to adapt to this? Well, that's the question. And how are we going to do it? So when you have our Prime Minister, he's out there, he's one of the leaders is from small island developing states who are out there saying to the global community, guys, help us out here. And by that I mean, help to cut down on this this greenhouse gas emission that you guys are doing, because it impacts us as a people. That's the kind of help we're looking for. So we're looking for, we're trying to get the attention of the world. And right now in the global community, in the IPCC, what has happened in our last election, we had small island developing states and developing countries around the world. We came together and we said, hey, we had enough and we're going to make our voices heard. We're going to put more of our people in the leadership position in this panel. CARICOM countries got together. Dr. Del Thomas, a Bahamian, she was an author who was working along with IPCC for many years. And we approached her and we said, listen, we need you on the bureau. She agreed. We went on the floor, we campaigned, and we campaigned the CARICOM way on the floor. And, and we got her elected. And we are proud. She's now a vice chair in the working group, in the working group 2. She is a part of this meeting that we are having. And she's also one of the authors. As a matter of fact, she's a lead author.
When you say lead authors, explain it.
You have various levels of the working group 2 have to produce their portion of the assessment report. And there are several, the lead authors, I think you'll have more, I think we agreed to about 20 chapters or thereabouts in our book. And so what her job then is that you would have lead authors and you have just review authors and other people. She is one of the persons who would be responsible for maybe 1 or 2 chapters, and she would have almost the final say on what goes into these reports, into the report for that area. Of course, our area of expertise will be with small islands. So now small islands have a voice in all of this. This document now goes into the COP, the policymakers. This document is very important because from this document, around the world, climate change policies are made because they gather information. There's nothing new. Everything is research, peer review. They use peer reviewed papers from around the world, and they actually put them together. And this document now that IPCC will put out is being used by policymakers from around the world to actually generate climate change policies. So what will be put in it, we are looking now to policymakers in the developed world to actually look at what was written in these reports, take it serious, and begin to make some changes in their countries so that the greenhouse gas emissions and the devastation we face from climate change would not be so devastating. One of the reports we put out was to 2.5. Okay, so we wanted to avoid increase in global temperatures by 2.5 degrees. Well, it don't look as if we're going to achieve that, but we haven't given up on it. Dr. Thomas, she was one of the authors in that report also. She featured prominently in that report. So she's a Bahamian out there who's in the international climate change community, fighting not only for the Bahamas, but also for small island developing states around the world. And she's well known around the world for doing that.
Well, you know, it sounds, it really sounds overbearing, but there's some hope in there because, Ms. Newbold, you were talking earlier about the opportunities and how we can adjust with technology and improve the quality of life.
And as Mr. Simmons would have said, this report that this Working Group 2 is going to be focused on is on vulnerability and adaptation. So it will be looking at the issues that are making countries more vulnerable to climate change and what the adaptive undertakings that would be required for them to make. The 1.5 degree limit was put in place so as to allow nations to be able to continue to strive. This number was identified particularly for small island developing states because we are an island. There is no mountain to run to if the sea level continues to rise. So this was peculiar to us as well. The 2 degrees was what we all globally agreed to as the post-industrial age, keeping the temperature below 2 degrees below what was then the temperature at that time. And by 2050, we were supposed to be at a net zero for emissions. Now, all of that has not worked out the way we had all planned and we'd hoped for. But what it does still require is that nations such as ours have to adapt. And that means that we have to adapt using the best available technologies that are available to us. And that means going beyond our traditional ways of doing things. Tradition took us as far as it could, but now we have to advance ourselves. That means that our educational system must prepare our students as they go out into the global world to utilize those tools to make the change. So before, when we all could have put a seed in the ground and plant, but now we're facing issues where the soil is too salty, the heat is too much for the plants to grow, the water is too scarce. So now we're looking at issues like using hydroponics or aquaponics, even for our fisheries. Right now, the ocean acidification is affecting our coral reefs. We even have the coral tissue loss disease that's out there that's just eating its way throughout the Caribbean, and nobody knows if it's a virus, a fungus, a bacteria. We do not know, but we're finding ways and means to adjust. We're identifying corals that are responding more strongly to it. It's not being overtaken by it, and seeing if we could harvest them and grow them and get their genetics to be able to reproduce them. So it's all about using the tools and the science and the understanding that we have to better the environment, to use what we have to advance what it is that we need. Right now, the Climate Change Unit in conjunction with the United Nations, various agencies are looking to advance agricultural and fisheries projects for our Bahamian people. So we're going to North Andros and we're looking at what the farmers need and what their experiences, and we're going to the South and we're looking at what they need and what they're experiencing, but not only to just identify the problem, but to also look at the issues of what is needed to address it. The key fundamental thing is, where is the funds? We know what the problem is, but where is the funding to address it? Under these UN climate change agreements and utilizing the output from the report, it will quantify the damage that's being done, the impact that is being experienced, and it then would lead into negotiating of the terms and conditions for the financial support. We have those financial supports that are coming into the country, and we need to direct them to farmers. But we can only direct them to true farmers, not sometime farmers, not play farmers, because food security, if a nation cannot thrive by virtue of its health, it will not survive, no matter what else surrounds it. So getting on the issue of food is important, as well as it is for energy. As Mr. Simmons would have said, the sun comes up every day. We depend on tankers to bring fuel to this country. We are a small country. When fuel becomes scarce, two things happen. The price increases, and they sell to the highest bidder. We can't compete in a market with 400,000 people. So what we need to do is to switch to solar switch to wind where it's applicable, switch to anything like OTEC where we're using the ocean temperature difference. Everybody goes
Is
to
natural gas an option?
natural gas is still a byproduct of fossil fuel. If you don't have fossil fuel, you can't have natural gas. You can't have natural gas without fossil fuel. So they're interlinked. And while it might be an intermediary response to it, it is not a sustainable one. So I want to draw Bahamas' attention to Bahama. When you go to Bahama, it always cold. Bahama doesn't use fossil fuel for its air conditioning. It uses OTEC. It uses the temperature difference.
What is OTEC?
It's ocean thermal energy conversion. It's the temperature difference between, like when we go into the sea sometimes, when you're close to the land, the water's warm, and you go out, it gets cooler. That temperature difference is what OTEC is about. That is what they're utilizing by virtue of the temperature of the water at the top, because they're drilling down, and then 100 feet different. The degrees and change is very dramatic, and they can use that for energy. They use that technology in Japan all the time for their aquaponics, for the air conditioning, for their hospitals and their hotels. We're saying we're going to do the same. There are projects that are already in play targeting islands like Eleuthera and Andros for these new energy conversion technologies, as well as for the farming and the fishing industry. We cannot control the fact that hurricanes come. We can't control the fact that insurers don't want to insure you even if you're willing to pay because of the risk of payout when the hurricanes do come. So looking at how we can build in a level of resilience. Before, when we talked about blacks and whites and Africans never had funerals. You died, they put you in a hole. They didn't even bury you in clothes because that was too valuable a commodity. You was already dying. And then we came up and we had what we have now. We had ASU, and then we had lodges. And their job was to give you a respectful interment so that your people could put you down with dignity. We know as a people how to save. We know how to use the little that we have as communities and to pool that in order to benefit everybody. And what we're saying is, let's use what we know that works and not always have to look outside for help, outside for loans, outside to go and borrow money, because these borrowing issues are what are going to weigh us down, because when you borrow, you have to pay back, and you don't always have the opportunity to pay back. The government just bought back $300 million worth of debt for $125 million to pump back into our conservation programs to address the impacts that are going on in our marine environment. But that was an opportunity that we had to fight for. It didn't happen yesterday. It took years of negotiations to get that. So these things that we highlight are important. We got a $65 million water project from the GCF. That wasn't a one-off, one day. That was 3 years of hard work and labor and negotiations to get that funds applied to the Bahamas, of which 49% was a grant, and the other 51% was a loan. But those aren't things that we can live and thrive off of. We have to create solutions at home that are implemented by our people, that are maintained by our people, that are managed by our people, because nobody's going to take better care of us than ourselves.
I wish I could stay here for a little longer, but we have just a few minutes left in this program. Final thoughts coming up in a moment.
You can now stay in tune with all things social services on any one of our social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, missed any of our Taking Social Services to the People programs? No worries. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Bahamas Heartbeat, to watch all of our programs and special content. Social Services is the heartbeat of the nation, taking our clients from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment.
Have you heard about the Promise Unit? The Department of Social Services provides food assistance, housing assistance, uniform assistance, burial assistance, and financial assistance. Promise makes it easy. You can log on via cell phone, your computer, or your tablet. Sign up today at promise.gov.bs. Once you've registered and created a profile, you can call the Promise Customer Contact Center and speak with someone about any inquiries at 1-242-4-PROMISE. That's 242-477-6647.
Well, It's been great talking to you all. What is your final advice?
I want to leave the Bahamian people with 2 words: diversification and adaptability. We are a nation that's more than 50 years old. We must move into the 21st century, and it will require change on our part. We cannot continue to do what we did in the past, looking forward, going into the future. So we have to be adaptable, and we have to diversify what it is that we do and how we do it. And only then will we be, and we will continue to be a thriving community of people and a nation that's worthy to have a voice on the global scale, without which we will be silent and we will go into the night. So I want our people to think of that. We as Bahamian, what does that mean?
When you say I want you to keep that thought in terms of go into the night. You know, I used to say for a long time that, you know, once we were inhabited by the Arawaks and they're not here anymore. And we seem to have a mindset when the hurricanes are coming, we run to the lumber stores when it's about to close and the hurricane is almost here. It's a mindset of last minute and not really anticipating the consequences of the future. And because we missed a hit last hurricane season, we expect the same to happen. So how do we address that mindset?
I guess I want to think about it in the general vernacular, like we talk about. When Christmas comes, I got to get my new weave done. I got to get my new nails done. We know how to call up those individuals, those technicians, to get us prepared and ready for that event that we want to come to. It's the same thing, the same process. As Bahamian women, those of us who are single, we know that we have children to feed. We know we need a home to be prepared for. We know we have to take care of ourselves and our own. We need to do what is necessary to ensure that. We need to put aside, squirrel away, whatever little amount of funds that we can to ensure that our people and ourselves are capable of thriving. If we are a family, with a nuclear family, with a husband and a wife, we are blessed to have the support and the balance that both can bring to that family. We need to use that to our advantage, to groom our young boys to be men, to be strong, to take control of their lives, to have a plan, right? It's not about the games. It's not about even being in a particular educational track. You got to be a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief. That's not what it's about. It's about how you can make your contribution to the development of your nation. There are niches. It's about empowering entrepreneurs to take advantage of opportunities. We no longer need to look external to advance ourselves. We have opportunities, we have the resources internally. Let's use it, let's take hold of it, let's mold it and make it what we need it to be that suits us. Our nation is not a cookie cutter result. We are unique. Our placement by God is unique. We are the only nation in the world you can see from space. You can't get confused if you're lost and you reach planet Earth. That aqua blue spot there, that's the Bahamas. And it's that uniqueness that we need to take ownership of. As a people, we need to thrive. We need to work together and strengthen ourselves.
Mr. Simmons.
And I'm to come behind that. Before I respond, I just want to say I made an error with I said 2.5. It's actually 1.5 degrees. 2.5 degrees, we cannot handle that, or we would be wiped out. So the report was really a 1.5 degree. That's what it was. The evidence is there. If you want to open your eyes and see, data is available in country and around the world. Climate is changing. And when we talk about climate, like I said, we talk about all aspects of the weather. It's changing a lot. As a people, especially from small island state like ours, we are one of the most vulnerable countries in the world when it comes to climate change. And we need to change and we need to adapt. Technologies are coming on where we can move away from the source of energy that God has blessed us with 365 days, more than 300 days of sunshine. We need to learn how to harness the energy that God has given us for free and use it and use it. That can help us a lot. We have more ocean than most places. We need to really get on board in terms of agriculture, how we grow our food, and get more into that hydroponics where you actually create an environment where you don't have to worry about planting your crops, and just when you're about ready for harvest, along come a hurricane and write it off. So these are the things we need to look at, taking advantage of the modern technologies that's becoming available to us more and more every day, so that we now can, as a people, adapt. The hurricanes are coming. We live in a zone. We live in a Abaco really see more hurricanes than anywhere else in this hemisphere. Okay, so we know these islands are really, hurricanes has passed them almost every year. So we have to realize where we live, and we have to adapt. We have to prepare ourselves for these things, and we don't prepare when a hurricane watch or hurricane warning is imminent. It at least has been released. You need to prepare in advance. June 1st, you must be prepared for any hurricane that can actually pass through our area. So you have to do what is necessary. And there are many ways to do that. The disaster risk management, they assist in giving tips on how these things are done. And you need to start paying more attention and really start preparing yourself in terms of your food, protecting your properties, how you can best protect your properties, and have some food around and water in the event that you're hit by a hurricane.
Well, two visionaries, two qualified professionals. And I think if I were to sum it all up, preparation means to make ready. What they're saying is that we have to make ourselves ready for the change. We cannot have sovereignty without ownership and without the quality of life, and that's based on the decisions we make. Every decision we make has a consequence tomorrow. And so at Social Services, we continuously say, listen, we have a responsibility to move from dependency to self-sufficiency to economic empowerment. You talked about not depending on others, not to be guided by external influences if it's in conflict with the values that we know that we get from the source of life. So, I mean, you know, there's a sovereign God who's not surprised by natural disasters or climate change, but it's for us to respond by submitting to the principles of success. I have every confidence that this country is going to be the greatest little country in the world, because not only are we confronting the issues, we're going to respond and submit to it. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Production of the Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting, the heartbeat of the nation.